Do I like this setup? I brought a fake plant over here. Breathe, breathe. This is the hardest part. I forget where I left off. I might end up just scratching all of this and refilming. Honestly, I should eject my memory card and see how this footage looks. What is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about how to eat out and stay on track. A really common question that I get from a lot of clients and just people, like I'll get some DM messages from time to time, people asking me how they could kind of eat out, how they could travel, how they could go to a social gathering and still stay on track. If that means kind of they're tracking it like in their phone, like using an app to track what they're eating, whether that is tracking their habits and kind of just making smarter choices, practicing healthy restraint, kind of just an inside look of how I typically recommend my clients and how I kind of eat out and stay on track with my goals. So let's get into it. The first step, I know you're probably like, come on Danielle, like that's easy. Everyone knows that. The first step would be to download a tracking app. You could use pen and paper if you want. I find tracking apps are a lot easier and they kind of simplify the process. And sometimes this process seems already kind of tedious and hard, quote unquote. And this just really helps make it easier. So the app that I use is the First Form app. You don't have to use that app, but I just found that I personally enjoy it because not only can I track my macros in there, but it allows me to upload progress pictures. So I'm not having half naked photos of me on my phone. It has a workout kind of option as well. So if I did not have time to go to the gym, I could pick a home workout from their kind of library of workouts. I could do that at home. It has live streams, so if you're struggling with tracking macros, if you're struggling with sleep or stressed or staying on track, you could kind of watch one of those live stream videos. And I just found that it's very beneficial. It ends up being like $3 a month, so I find that price is like, come on, why wouldn't you pay for it? So that is what I used to track, but there is MyFitnessPal, MyMacros Plus, Fit Day. I'm sure there's so many other tracking apps that you could use, but that is going to be the first step. Step number 2 would be to kind of either plan ahead of time, like if you are having breakfast or if you're having lunch or if you're having dinner, whatever that may be, not going into that meal very hungry and trying to plan around those meals. So let's say today, for example, I had breakfast out. I still woke up, had my collagen coffee. I had a slice of this like Greek yogurt banana bread that I made because it was delicious. And at least I'm having homemade banana bread instead of overdoing it on pancakes with a load of syrup and stuff along those lines. So I still had my normal morning routine. I made sure that I drank some water ahead of time. So I'm, again, hydrated, somewhat satiated. That way I'm not going in super ravenous. The same thing goes for if you are meeting a girlfriend for dinner or your guy friends for dinner, whatever it may be, drinks at a bar, making sure that you're not saving up calories for that meal and then going into that super, super hungry, because what happens is we run the risk of making poor decisions. So you may be thinking like, nah, man, I'm not going to eat, anything, and then I'm going to have, a decent amount of food there. A decent amount of food can easily go into copious amounts of food with like that, an extra drink, and you're making poor decisions. So making sure that, hey, you're somewhat satiated. Are you having your normal breakfast, your normal lunch? Maybe not. That really depends on where your calories are at. But typically, if I'm going out to eat, my normal breakfast of whole eggs and toast comes down to egg whites and veggies, maybe, depending on the phase of life that I'm in. But sometimes, cutting those high carb, high fat meal into a low carb, low fat meal. That could be with anything. If you typically have oatmeal in the morning, maybe we don't have oatmeal. Maybe we opt for a slice of Ezekiel bread and some hard-boiled egg whites, something along those lines. Or it's a Greek yogurt and a protein shake, which is a weird combination. I don't know why I necessarily said that, but you kind of get the point. If lunch is typically a sandwich, maybe we opt for a salad. Maybe we opt for cauliflower rice and grilled chicken breast. That way we're still having food, we're still satiated, but they're lower calorie options. So that would be kind of number 2. Number 3, making sure that we are picking things that are easily trackable. And what I mean by that is, instead of opting for the meatloaf or the lasagna or this like not delicate, intricate like soup dish or something along those lines, maybe we stick for the time being. I'm not saying you could never have those foods, but once you're getting in the hang of kind of tracking and how to structure eating out and stuff along those lines, maybe we stick for easily trackable things. So maybe we have a piece of grilled chicken breast with no butter, no oil. You do have to remember, and that will be kind of number 4. I'll get into that later, but a lot of restaurant foods are like heavily doused in fat. So maybe we stick to a piece of grilled fish, grilled meat, chicken, steak, whatever it is. A simple carbohydrate, so some white rice, wild rice, sweet potato, baked potato, whatever it may be, and a vegetable. So it could be a steamed veggie, grilled asparagus, a salad with dressing on the side, whatever that is. Those are easily trackable foods compared to lasagna that is literally like ricotta cheese, marinara, Parmesan, mozzarella, noodles. There's a lot of layers to that, which tends to be a little bit harder. Now, it's not impossible. It's just not as accurate. So if you were, let's say you're going to a mom and pop restaurant, you've never been there, they're known for their lasagna. Obviously, MyFitnessPal is not going to have, First Form app's not going to have that mom and pop restaurant and the nutrition info for there. Also, you have to keep in mind that every line cook is going to make a dish somewhat differently. So going off of like the Olive Garden website, the Maggiano's website, whatever Italian like chain restaurant website or nutrition info, and picking a lasagna from there is better than telling yourself that you could never have that meal because you don't know how to track it. So at least tracking it to some degree is better than saying, hey, this is off limits, or not tracking it at all. Now, if you are weeks out from a show, if you are, weeks out from a deadline, if you have a specific goal, I would say let's wait on the lasagna. That's a little bit harder to track. Let's wait on something that's harder to track and eating out. I'm not saying you can't eat out when you're on contest prep or if you have a specific goal, but definitely choosing the more easily trackable options instead of a dish that's very intricate and hard to track is what I would recommend. And number 4, kind of going off of what I said a little bit ago, knowing in your head that a lot of restaurant food, fast food restaurants, are going to be higher in fat. You have to just, why? Because fats are delicious. Fats make food look better. Like you brush a piece of salmon with some butter before it gets to the table, the guest is going to be like, wow, this looks very, juicy. I was going to say moist, but a lot of people don't use that word. So it looks, fresh, it looks flavorful, it looks juicy, it looks like it's not a piece of dry, nasty salmon. Same thing for chicken. A lot of restaurants will still brush oil on or butter on chicken breast, so it looks like it's actually a nice, flavorful, juicy piece of chicken breast, and it's not just dry meat that you're like chewing on. Same thing for steaks. That's why you'll see a lot of like butter, a glob of butter on top of steaks. So just knowing, asking the server, hey, can you prepare this without butter or oil? Same thing goes for rice. Now, rices, a lot of the time, you can't, hey, can I get rice without butter or oil? They're going to be like, no, sorry, we batch make this rice. We can't do that. But just knowing, hey, if I am tracking chicken, rice, veggie, tracking an extra tablespoon of oil, tablespoon of butter. That way you're kind of just covering your bases. Is that spot on and accurate? No, but at least you're adding in an additional 7 grams of fat just to cover your bases instead of not tracking that. And then maybe they ended up adding 2 tablespoons of oil and then you didn't account for any of it at all. So that's what I would recommend. Also, just communicating with your server, hey, I'm allergic to butter, I'm allergic to oil, which is like really hard, but just communicating that you are kind of on a stricter diet per se. That way they're able to communicate that to the cooks and then they could kind of make changes accordingly. Don't feel bad for being somewhat needy, quote unquote. I don't want to say that like, well, you're needy for saying this, but don't feel bad to kind of just communicate to your server that, hey, you have these food preferences and you would prefer if your omelet was cooked in spray instead of oil. That's another thing. Omelets are typically cooked in like a ladle of butter. So asking for it to be cooked in like Pam cooking spray can help save some calories there as well. So I think those are like my 4 key points. So download a tracking app, stick to simple foods, know that restaurants are preparing a lot of foods with more fat. And I forget what was number 2? I forget, but those are my 4 key points. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you know of any other like tips when you eat out, leave them below as well for other people to kind of read them. But I'm going to close out the video here. If you found value in this video, if you really enjoyed this video, please let me know. Please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.